Start recording. I just realized I was on mute. Um, Hello all. It's nice to see you guys. You may have known the Habitat people from a couple of wildlife gardening talks in previous climate weeks. I'm always a little bit nervous talking to ACA things because my connection always unfailingly breaks up. So fingers crossed, I'll just get going while it works. So I'll start by telling you a bit about how the company started. My boss, the founder of the Habitat people, always modestly says he accidentally started up this business. I think it's a little too modest though. I think it was a large amount of commitment to biodiversity protection, a good idea, some hard work that transformed into a thriving small business. But I'll give you his version of how we begun. So, oh, my slides aren't working already. On the next slide, there is a picture of Vital Veg, which is a farm near Echt, but I'll come on to that. Maybe the slide will pass on of its own accord.
Try clicking on the slide and then.
Yeah, I've tried the arrow key, the space bar, and clicking. So, oh, here we go. Yes, so way back a year and a half ago, my boss was a delivery driver for Hermes. He'd been recently laid off by RSPB because his field position wasn't possible during COVID. And he heard a local farmer was looking to improve a young woodland on their land for biodiversity. This was Vital Veg. The image you can see below is a tiny portion of Vital Veg, which is near Echt. So David spent the freezing month of February improving a wetland by clearing it out and re-deepening it, improving the edges, and improving a woodland and writing a woodland management plan for a small one-off fee. At this point, he still didn't know he was in business. And then that woodland won the Scottish Farmland Woodland of the Year. And a friend of this farmer asked, can you convert a small part of my garden into a wildlife-friendly area? And then the friend's friend asked, and I'm very surprised David just kept saying yes and ended up in business. You get the process. So he then did all of the really boring bits, the admin, the taxes, the advertisement, all of that stuff, but he committed to business. So that's how we begun. And the business's mission were very quickly formed, and it was very simple: to make as much natural and wildlife-friendly habitat as possible, hence our name. And there are many great organizations already doing this in Scotland. So there are government agencies, NGOs and charities, but the Habitat people found a slightly different market, which was more private landowners, companies, including quite corporate ones. And it was a really great time where people were more keen than ever before to start thinking about the environment around them. So, oh yeah, sorry, this is the farm, some of it growing. That is David in clearing out that wetland in the middle of the forest, which has now got some waders like snipe on it and some woodcock, which is really great. So here's the team. On the left here is David. He's only 28, but has a huge amount of conservation and ecology jobs behind him. This is me in the middle. And after maybe 8 months to a year of earwigging in David's ear, I think he realized the only way to get me to shut up was to give me a job. So I'm here talking to you guys instead. And Lanika is here on the right, who was with us till last week and has just left for a dream job in Wales. So we'll miss her, but she was great for the start of the company. Now you know the team, I'll tell you a little bit about the 4 main areas we operate in. So we have a wildflower nursery, which is fuels all of our projects, really. We grow nearly 100 species of native wildflowers, which are adapted to the region. We collect them all from seed in the Aberdeenshire countryside. So it's quite a big effort, but it really pays off, and it's really nice to know that we have the local variety and that is collected from our countryside. Oh, whoops. Yeah, and it's perfectly legal, I hasten to add. It's illegal to take plants by digging them up and transplanting them elsewhere, but seeds is fine. We currently have about 12,000 plants, which is not near enough. That disappears into our projects very, very quickly. So we're looking to move ASAP into new premises with the 2 raccoons, which is very exciting. Our nursery will be surround their winery, and hopefully will be a hive of eco-entrepreneurs. So we put most of our wildflower plants in our wildlife gardening projects, which are the services we offer, which are adapted to all spaces, really, from large gardens right down to small balconies. We've really, and in essence, we just want to bring more wildlife into people's gardens. Our services aren't just advisory. We do actually implement the work ourselves. But for those who want, they tend to prefer our biodiversity improvement reports. So what we do is mostly things like adding some aquatic space, like this lovely pond in the top right, or making a strip of wildflower meadow or a permaculture hedge. Down here, in the left, you can see a god-awful garden. But one of the delights of our job is once we've converted them, we start to hear new sightings back from very happy garden owners. This guy had owned his garden for 40 years. It had looked like that for most of it. Now, well, that was about 2 months ago, before the flowers really came up properly. It looked like that. And just yesterday, he told me he saw his first dragonfly ever in his garden, which was just really lovely to hear. So the third big area we work in is advising corporate sites on low cost and biodiversity friendly management of the green space surrounding. So our flagship site is Prime 4. They've been absolutely brilliant with us. We've got a 30-year plan, which they've committed to as well. Just right now, we're looking for some cattle for them to conservation graze their 8 hectares of wildflower meadow, for them to own and look after. It's fantastic. Their site manager happens to be an amateur cow farmer who absolutely loves it. So he's very excited. But there's so much of this space around the city. There's 38 industrial or business parks in Aberdeen alone. And we'd like to help all of them to convert eventually. Who knows? But I think everyone has a lot to gain from that. The site managers, us obviously, biodiversity, and the people that work there. We've seen a lot more use of Prime 4 for space in people's lunch breaks, and people have been going on monthly walks with us in their lunch hour. We do one a month and some information sessions, and they're really popular. And which brings me to our final and most recent service, the Carbon Shop, which is the one Adam introduced. So as we started to grow, we've been thinking more and more about climate change as well as the biodiversity aspect of our work. And thanks to some funding from the Robert Gordon University Accelerator, which LASA and BPODs were also part of, we could take our head above the financial race of keeping afloat and develop a new service of restoring meadows on a much larger scale to store atmospheric carbon, which meadows are capable of doing in similar amounts to woodland, and very, very fast. In 3 to 4 years, a meadow can be hitting its max rate of carbon sequestration, and it might take a woodland quite a bit longer, although they are fantastic ecosystems and shouldn't be disregarded in any way. At the moment, we are just about to take our baseline samples to determine how much carbon is in our Peterhead site, our very first site, which is outlined in red up here. And once we've got those, we can begin the restoration work. And in a year's time will be properly underway, I hope. So we do this all because, as the name suggests, we want to create as much habitat for the betterment of the environment and people. You know our main services now, and our ambition over the next year is to double our team. So David and I can stop working quite so hard, get a fully functional carbon shop, because we're still working with the Environment Agency to finalize our monitoring program for the carbon we store, move our nursery to the most exciting new premises in Aberdeenshire with the 2 raccoons, and get a conservation grazing flock for all of our carbon shop sites, and restore as much habitat as possible in the city and Shire. That's it from me. Look forward to all your questions.